We have Bob Maguire with Merck. He is Executive Director of Shared Business Services and in charge of the Enterprise Portal Project. Good morning. The first question, as we were talking before we started here, it's back to 2000, 1999 with the portal initiative that you're working on. Why are portals coming back, and what's the vision at Merck to roll out a portal for your employees?
Sure. Well, I don't know that necessarily portals are coming back, but certainly for us, if you think about the portal our legacy portal is called My Merck, and it's really become kind of almost a web farm. And if you look at what's out there, basically people go out to My Merck. It's the place they go to find the things on the internet that they want to go to. It doesn't really brand Merck as a company internally. It doesn't create a sense of culture, and we've proliferated 5,000 websites across the organization that are many of them are launched out of that portal. So the idea behind One Merck is to begin to create that individual brand where people identify themselves with Merck as opposed to identifying themselves with their organization, to begin to eliminate some of these websites to reduce cost, and over time to begin to try to drive some efficiency and give the employees tools that create collaboration, drive engagement, create a sense of community, and then eventually begin to get into this space where we actually begin to integrate some of the My Workplace, some of your day-to-day work, and that would be the place you go to do your work.
Okay. All that Enterprise 2.0 goodness.
All that Enterprise 2.0 goodness, exactly.
The next question I had for you is, how did it begin? What was the business driver? Why did you choose to go down this route? You mentioned collaboration and those sorts of things.
Sure. A couple of reasons. So if you look at where the pharmaceutical industry is, we're across the board really beginning to move into a space where cost savings is becoming important. In addition to that, he was our new CEO at the time. He's not our new CEO anymore, Mr. Clark. Really wanted to begin to break down the barriers between the divisions and create a culture of One Merck as opposed to the divisions. So when you put that all together, there was an initial vision related to One Merck, the idea that we could reduce the number of websites, create a true portal, create a place that people would identify with. And then on top of that, we have recently just rolled out SAP for the corporation, and this is also the launching place for SAP. So you go to the One Merck portal in order to do your HR transactions, in order to be able to do your expense management, in order to be able to do your non-procurement purchases, things like that. Okay. So when you put that all together, it became a pretty compelling argument for why you would do that. And then lastly, Merck has a strategy of really driving shared business services. Part of that's related to enabling SAP, but the other part of it is cost savings. And this also becomes the place to really drive some of the shared business services from too.
Okay. The next question again is maybe a little bit twisted coming out here, but you talked about portals and collaboration as well as your help desk all coming together. Just explain a little bit, what you mean about sort of working in one place and your employees kind of like living and working kind of all in one
Sure.
spot.
So if you look at how people do work and what drives people in a work situation, you've got the work, your day-to-day work. You've got a lot of the administrivia, being able to do the administration. You've also got on top of that this concept of managing my projects or my communities or my organizations, and then on top of that, professional networking. So for us, this became an opportunity to be able to create some layers of capability and to be able to drive forward and create some of the tools that people needed for that. So if you think about it, as an executive, I want to be able to reach either an organization or a group of people. And if you think about how we do that, when I publish stuff on a bunch of websites, as an employee, I've got to go out to each of those websites. So NewsGator and the newsreader that they have gave us the opportunity to be able to aggregate those things and create channels. So that became a really important part of our strategy, to be able to give an organization a presence outside of a website, and instead of you going to the website to read the news, it goes directly to you and you just go to the newsreader across all the channels that you read. Secondly, from a collaboration perspective, a similar thing, it began to create the ability for us to have a profile, a presence, to be able to search for professional skills, to be able to be a way of organizing communities and team sites. And then lastly, it really became the place for personal productivity, for managers to be able to aggregate some of those tools you use. The next big thing we're going to be rolling out is related to our HR organization, a part called About Me. And we're going to be able to take all of the disparate websites, and we want to pull them together and make the manager's experience for what they do with all their HR pieces and all their HR tasks be easier and more efficient.
Okay. You mentioned NewsGator. You mentioned earlier SharePoint. That
Yes.
you're running on SharePoint. How are those two tools being used in the context of the Portal initiative?
Sure. Well, if you look at SharePoint, it's a great platform. It was really useful for what we wanted to be able to do. It became the basis for a lot of our document management. What NewsGator allowed us to do is to be able to create a lot of the capability that we wanted on top of SharePoint without customizing it. So when you go into the professional networking space, when you go into collaboration, when you look at RSS feeds, all those types of things, we got that out of the box from NewsGator. So we were able to take those web parts, install them, and then actually be able to roll out a lot of the higher level functions that will allow us to drive the realization we want. You know, if you look at SharePoint 2010, some of those functionalities are built in. You know, NewsGator in essence has become, in my view, the innovation area for Microsoft. So what we're looking for NewsGator to be able to do is go to that next step in the mobile space and the different areas that SharePoint 2010 is in.
Okay. You know, have you measured ROI, and if not, why not? And if you have, how?
We haven't specifically measured ROI in terms of a hard set of, you know, if we spend this much money, we're going to get back this. But we do have some areas where we're going to start to track metrics. Some of the really important ones are bringing down websites. So one of the metrics we're going to start tracking now that we've enabled channels is we're going to go out to all of our major divisions, and we have plans to basically turn off their websites because most of them are either news or about organizational stuff, which would go to our company in the portal. That's where you'd have your organization charts, all the stuff related to your strategy, what your organization does. So from an ROI perspective, there's a big return there. And we're going to actually track a lot of that. The harder one to track that we're trying to figure out, and one of the reasons I'm here, is how do you track collaboration? How do you track, do these tools actually make an employee or a team more productive? That's where I'd like to get to, but we haven't figured that out. An interesting part that popped up that I hadn't even thought of when we started the project is related to risk and some of the legal aspects. And so if you think about, you know, internally and externally, the risks with social media to a corporation, right now we're really focused on the internal aspects of employees are going to go out and they're going to use social media tools. If we don't provide them social media tools that meet their needs, and we don't provide them in a way that allows us to archive, allows us to set policy, enforce policy, monitor what's going on, then what's going to happen is we get into trouble, either with information privacy laws or with legal issues that pop up that relate to regulatory rules or even some of the litigation that we might get involved in. Right. So one of our initiating sponsors is our head of legal. The reason he was the initiating sponsors is that global communication reports to him. But as we got into the project, we began to realize that he had another role to play, which was the legal spine. And we actually have been able to work with our legal organization. Instead of them being a barrier to us rolling this out, we've actually begun to collaborate with them as, you know, we're the positive alternative to the anarchy that occurs if you don't do anything about this type of stuff. So,
but you had mentioned sort of you're bringing together you know, your administrivia task and your work task and your professional networking task, bringing all those things together and making one Merck the place for people to work. You know, one work at Merck, right?
Right, exactly. Am I using
and then mobile and your SAP transactions, everything, and almost creating just like one place for people to go.
Right.
Just describe that vision a little bit because it was very interesting.
Okay. But the vision is we begin to flesh out this and we begin to look at our workplace, that we eventually get to this idea that that's where you go to do your job. So we'll move from building capability to the corporation to building almost a tool set that the application builders in the different divisions link into, so that when you come in the morning, as opposed to just going to the portal to do your SAP transactions, you'll go to see all the work you need to do and to track the work that you need to do and to link all the applications in. And hopefully over time, we begin to create this sense of, communities are where I do my work, and the applications are integrated into the communities through my workplace.
Okay, excellent. Well, again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.